Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we do have the truck behind us, and what we'll be working on today is actually finalizing the bed install. You guys can actually see we do have a bed cap installed over on the driver's side. I haven't gotten to that stage yet, but basically what we're doing today is the final wet sanding. You guys can see I have sanded in a couple spots right here. I actually had a run, so I knocked that down with a razor blade, then I wet sanded that out, so that came out. And so we're basically going to start wet sanding this panel with 1500, 2000, 2500, 3000, 5000, 8000. Now the 3000, 5000, 8000 are all going to be the trizact pads, so it's not really sanding it with sandpaper, it's just those pads. And you know, those will pretty much just almost get it to a smooth finish. But first of all, like I said, we have that one spot. We started with 1000. I think I ended up with like, might have ended with 2000 there, but basically we do the whole panel in 1500, 2000, 2500, 3000, then those pads that I mentioned. We're also going to reinstall the mud flap in the back because the support beam isn't connected there. We're going to do the rail cap. I also have new LED reverse lights to put in, the bed cap like we mentioned. Oh, and also one thing, if you guys can see, I actually painted the bed rail. This was black, you know, I didn't paint this green, the dark spiral gray metallic green color. So they actually sell a 2K based spray can, and I've already done, I did that a couple weeks ago, and because when I actually painted the outside of the bed, I left the truck taped off and I spray painted those two bed rails with that bed liner. And I did that just because it would look real weird. You'd have that black plastic bed cap, you'd have green, you know, a green bed rail, and then the black bed liner and the black plastic liner on the inside. So it just would look weird. So like I said, I just scuffed that, put some primer on the spots that needed it, hit that with that rattle can, and I'll include a picture of that here of what we used. And it was kind of an expensive can, but one CAD did both bed rails just fine. So, but let's go ahead, we'll get started with the sandpaper. I'm not really going to show this process because it's just wet sanding, nothing too difficult. We'll just provide you updates as we go. Alright guys, we have finished wet sanding with all the wet sandpaper, so you will see in a couple spots I did have to go down to 1000 grit just because there was crap in the paper. But yeah, so we did 1000, 2000, 2500, and now we're going to switch over to those trizact pads, which really are basically almost like a cloth pad with, you know, really fine grit sand material on it. I have finished all the way up to 8000 on the trizact pads, and as you guys can see, there's already a pretty good reflection with the sun. It is dulled, obviously we haven't hit it with a buffer, but yeah, I mean, we're pretty much done with the whole panel. We did everything from the back to the front. All right guys, here's our buffer and our polisher. You'll remember that we bought that Milwaukee buffer a while back. It's the battery powered one. We also have our old school dual action Porter cable. And then for our buffing and polishing, we're going to use the Meguiar's Ultimate Compound and then the paint correcting polish. The only thing a little bit different this time is we do have this Milwaukee small buffer. I did use this on a couple spots on the driver's side, and I picked this up just to reach into those small places. So this actually has a number of different pads. It's got a wool pad, it's got buffing pads, and it's got polishing pads on it too. So pretty cool thing. You know, it's real small, and we'll get into smaller places that the giant, I think that's a 7-inch pad that the 7-inch pad won't fit into. All right guys, we have completed the buffing process. There's a couple swirls in it, but I'm not too worried about that. I think the polish will take that out. But we have gotten everything back to glossy. All right guys, we have finished polishing. The bedside is completely done now. There's kind of the reflection. Anyway, so here's the reflection and kind of the overall shot. So the next thing that I need to do is actually replace the bed rail cap. You could buy the GM ones, but I found this Dorman one on Amazon. I want to say it was like $45 a side. So they do fit pretty well. They do come with some double-sided tape, but I'm actually going to put more double-sided sticky tape on it because the driver's side didn't want to stick down very well. So I'm going to go ahead and probably double the amount of the 3M double-sided tape that you guys can see on there, especially on the edges, the middle, and the back end as well. So you guys can see the extra fat tape. That's what I've added. I pretty much put one on every square where there was an existing double-sided tape. So we're going to put this over on the bed rail. I've already cleaned that off, so we should be good there. We'll put this down. Then there is this safety pin thing that basically clicks into here on the very edge of the above the taillight. and that secures the bed rail top to the top of the bed. Alright guys, we have this bed rail cap on and installed, and we're fully polished and buffed underneath it, so we are making a lot of headway on this project. So the passenger side's done, the driver's side's been done, like I said, and the next project we have actually has to deal with the reverse lights. And the last part of this project is actually going to be a set of reverse LED lights from a company called Diesel LEDs. They carry this brand called Luminex. They're kind of local to me. I think they're outside Asheville, North Carolina, which is about 2 hours from here. But basically, we're going to be replacing the one incandescent bulb and the one LED that we already have in there with a really super bright reverse light. This is one of those kind of impulse buys, targeted buys from Facebook. I actually did see this in my Facebook advertisements and checked it out. I was like, well, that looks okay, and then clicked on the reviews, and the reviews were actually all very good. So I decided to go ahead and give these a try. Now, these weren't very cheap. They were, I think, $55 shipped, so they were kind of expensive for reverse LEDs, but I've already gone through a couple set of cheap LEDs in the back, and they've all burnt out or flickered. So it's time to go with something a little bit more substantial, and let's go ahead and get this opened up. So what you guys can see, it's actually like a full LED bulb. It's not just kind of an insert. And so there's actually 3 super bright LEDs on there, and that really does shine a whole bunch of light. I did test out the driver's side because, like I said, we finished that side yesterday. It is way more brighter than the factory bulb I had on the passenger side. Alright, so you can take the 2 Phillips screws off. There's one on top, one on bottom. Take that out, and that will actually let you pop the whole taillight out. And as you guys can see, I have this real generic LED in here, and my driver's side one failed. This one is on its way of failing, so you know, I really didn't want to go ahead and replace it with another cheap one. So that's kind of how we ended up with the Diesel LED reverse light. So simply just going to pull this out. So remove the old bulb. You're going to put the new one in. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to put the adapter end, we'll plug that in here, and then the bulb end we're actually going to screw right into the housing, and so you're going to have a couple inches of cord exposed. So let's go ahead and get the bulb installed. So I went ahead and got the bulb installed. Like I said, it's pretty simple. Just push it in. That green part is actually a piece of like rubber or silicone, and it basically forms its own gasket. So that twists it in and locks. Then you plug the harness end into this reverse light, and then put the taillight back into the truck. Now, before you go ahead and put the taillight fully back in the truck, you do want to put the truck in reverse and make sure both your lights are working. Obviously, the driver's side's done. This side we did put in correctly. I'm not sure if that wire harness can be flipped or not, if it won't work, but like I said, I just want to make sure it works. And as you guys can see, it is super bright. All right guys, we are finally fully finished with this bed replacement. We got everything painted, polished, and buffed. I got the reverse lights in that we wanted to put in, so that's on both sides. Here's the driver's side. Here's the bed cap that we replaced. This one's from Dorman as well. Here is the passenger side from Dorman, and like I said, I did spray bed liner in there. All right guys, so that's gonna be it for the wrapping up of the bed project. We showed you that we buffed and polished the bed sides. I installed the Dorman bed cap as well as those new LED reverse lights from Diesel LEDs. And also, one thing I forgot to film was I also forgot to install the splash guard or mud flap on the back passenger side. Driver's side we already did. So that's also been wrapped up too. So finally, we are done with this bed project. I feel like I've been working on this thing for 3 months. It's probably been about 6 weeks, but obviously I haven't been working on it this entire time. We removed the old bed, we cut up the old bed, we drove and got the new bed. The junkyard guys installed the bed for me. Then I scuffed, painted, clear coated, did all those steps, and then we just finished up the body work by wet sanding it, polishing and buffing it. And the one thing about that is the instructions for the clear coat that we used, that I believe was Southern Polyurethane ink. They said to wait at least 90 days before we put any kind of wax on that. So all that we have on there is the rubbing compound and the Adams polish. So we're gonna have to let that sit for at least another 5 or 6 weeks because we just painted that, I think it was 2 weekends ago, maybe 3. I'm forgetting what weekend it is, but it's only been a couple weeks since we painted that. Oh, and one last thing before we go, I am gonna show a clip here. This is the truck backed up against the house with those reverse lights on. As you guys can see, it is super bright and it's lighting up most of the house. And you guys wouldn't get that with a standard LED or a halogen bulb in those reverse lights. So I'm really glad I did that. And like I said, since I had mismatching bulbs anyway, it was time to buy some decent bulbs. So those look pretty good on the back of the truck. And so yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more truck, SS, Corvette content, speaking of Corvette, we should be getting that back soon. Hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications. And if you guys want to help support the channel, I'll drop some links down below to the buffer quarter cable I might be able to find, as well as the new mini buffer from Milwaukee. We'll definitely have links to those, as well as the polish and the rubbing compound that I use. And I'll drop a link to diesel LEDs as well, because I doubt you'll be able to find that on Amazon. So, and also don't forget to check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. We do have the new Duramax t-shirts and stuff, so go check that out. Thanks guys, have a great one.